How do they get beyond their own words here?
Well, first of all, Vice President Biden was specifically speaking about a war, a declaration of war, which does need congressional approval. We're not talking about a declaration of war here. We're talking about possibly what we did in Syria. We are talking about in Syria what we did in Libya, which is no boots on the ground. And quite frankly, I hate to say that I agree with Ann Coulter and anything, but yes, the commander-in-chief has that power.
That's not a war. That's not an authorization for use of force. What are we going to call that? A tea party?
We're not declaring war.
We're not declaring war. But it doesn't mean that conflict isn't existing. Let's not play word games here, Leslie.
But you know what, Sean, when it comes to the Constitution, word games are played, and that's what happens in a court of law.
We are in a post-constitutional America. That's a good point.
In an international court of law, when you have every single ally, including France this time around, supporting stopping the genocide of his own people, the president has the authority because this is not a declaration of war.
Let me go to Brigitte, because I want to keep this conversation sane. If, in fact, do you take the threat of Iran and Syria, how seriously should we take their threat that if we send cruise missiles into Syria, that they're going to fire at Israel? How credible is that threat?
It's a very serious threat. They told us over and over again that they're going to retaliate. And Iran will retaliate because right now Syria is the proxy base of Iran in that part of the world. Iran wants to make sure that the lines to Hezbollah remain open to smuggle the weapons to Hezbollah. So Iran has a best interest to retaliate, and they will retaliate against Israel. They will retaliate against our interest in the Middle East and maybe even anywhere around the world. But here's the problem we have, Sean. We don't even know who used nerve gas against their people. We do not know if the rebel used it. We're not sure that the Assad regime used it. Carla Del Ponte, who is a member of the United Nations International Independent Commission of Inquiry on Syria, came out with a report to Swiss television saying, we think it's the rebels who launched the nerve gas and the biological weapons and not the Assad regime.
It's interesting you say that because the UK Telegraph had a column out today saying that the evidence that Assad used chemical weapons is slim at best. But we have John Kerry saying it with great authority here.